Good day, I'm RG Ikot, and we are handling the report of the topic Quality Management Method for Problem Solving, the problem solving process. So, first, let's talk about the quality management. So, what is quality management? So, quality management is the act of supervising all the exercises and the errands which are necessary to preserve or accomplish to a certain level. So, we have the level we need to achieve of the greatness in our organization. So, if I, as a leader, so I need to supervise our our co-workers in order to achieve that certain level, right? So, in order to get that greatness needed in to achieve to achieve the success of our organization or the company. So, the quality management has these four key forms. So, first form is the quality planning. So, from the word planning, it needs to be ready all the things we are needed or the measurements to be utilized. So, formulating a quality administration arrange that describes the form and measurement that are to be utilized. So, all the things are need to be ready in order to get it faster. Second form is the quality assurance. So from the word assurance, so we need to assure the quality of the product we are making. So first is we are having the quality planning. Next is the assurance. So from using the planning, we can assure that we are use or we get the quality or the assurance we are needed for having the quality product. So next form is the quality control. So in the quality control, we need to review, testing, and estimate the extent of the deliverable. So what do we need to review and test and extend and estimate the extent of the deliverables? Of course, the product we are making, right? So we are in the production, so we need to review the review the product and test the product and estimate when it will be extend for the breakable of the product we are making. So we need to check the the product right away after making, then listing the reviews of our product we're making and test it. So next form is the continual improvement. So from the continual improvement, by the use of these first three forms, so we supposed to have the reviews from the control, so we have to improve our product more. So we go back to the planning. Next is the assurance of the quality of the product. Next is the quality control of what we are need to improve for the 4 more years, not 4 more years, many years to come. Then that's right. So continual improvement. So let's go to the quality management observation, the strategies for effective problem solving. So within the automotive quality management space, problem solving proceeds to be the huge problem within the supply chain. So also the problem solving is also the huge problem in solving the problem solving. So it is the hardest part or the huge problem also when solving the problem, right? So lisod yun, maglisod sa gyud ag solve sa problem kung maglisod ta og solve sa problem, di ba libog? So ingon sila nga many automakers and their providers have demonstrated they don't have the certainty in issue understanding all through the supply chain. So, so agreeing to automotive John Reed of AIAJ, the session made a difference as to get this issue a bit more thoroughly specifically. So why does a problem understand such a problem? That's the question. So first, the problem understands such a problem because the problem tends to be described incorrectly. So from the word incorrectly, so the given problem is not described correctly, right? So sayop gud ang message nga, or sayop ang problem nga gisend dito sa automakers ay sa mga mo solve sa problem, or the problem solvers. Next is the insufficient structure in the problem solving process. So in the time of problem solving, ana na masayop if kuwang ang ipanghatag or the structures needed in solving the problem. So next is the administration anxiety. So we know the kanang hustle jud siya, right, sa kanang sa company gid. So usasad sa kanang dili ma-solve ang problem tungod sa administration nga they don't have they lack of sleep. So maglisod yun sila ng solve because of the anxiety of the administration or the problem solvers. So next is a need of confederation. So need siya, so when solving the problem needs more people to solve. So need siya moral support in solving the problem for us nga dili magsayop-sayop. So the measure of success is not whether you have a tough problem to deal with, but whether it is the same problem you had last year, by John Foster Dulles. So next, the problem-solving effort has poor execution of an effective corrective action. So, because automakers confront numerous challenges forced by worldwide competition. First is the government orders, and second is the customer requests. So, unsa man yung mga challenges, so mga kanya siya kanang sa tawag kanang standards, right? Standards sa government orders o sa mga customer requests. So mga siya kanang request sa product nga i-implement sa usa ka company. So finding the most excellent adjust of material excuse me, and advance to meet this, in some cases clashing requests. So requests, di ba, requires deftness and new approaches to plan. So nag-make sila og new plan and new fabricating productivity. So ang company, they use new approaches in planning to kanang excellent nga idea in adjusting of materials needed sa pag produce sa certain product or the order sa or mga request baron sa people or customer. Then so then here we have the example. Those within the car industry progressively oath to emphasize integrator frameworks approaches, basic considering and issue understanding. So makita natin nga kuan sila kanang basic considering, so mo consider sila sa mga requests and also mo understand gid sila sa issue. So kung sa may di ba na nakatakol na ta sa katong control, di ba, quality control. So dinhi na apply na to nga sa issue understanding. So kanang i-research sad nila sa ilang product or tan-awon sad nila or i-review sad nila kung unsa pagikuangan sa ilahang product. So imo sila kuan, so they intend to kanang improve or adopt the request of the customers. And it should conduct an examination in a range to accumulate and examine prove to decide in case the issue is in the inner or the outer source or outside source, since usually used in the other way for us to know what is the issue in these circumstances. So atong let's find out if the issue is in the inner or in the production ba or the outer source. So mga standards baron sa mga customers or sa government ana, something like that. Then mo to makita na we in that way we will know the issue in these circumstances. So let's go to the problem solving process. So first, what are the solving process? First step. So first is the identify the problem. Need to identify the problem to solve it properly. So we really need to identify the problem and solve it properly. So pangitaon dyan na tong problem, no? Okay, para ma-solve good, para wala na problema sa ato ang company. Next is the contain the problem or immediate action should be taken to prevent further effect. So we know that a small problem, if it goes longer, it will become bigger, right, in the company. So if the problem is small, it should be immediately take an action to solve it directly para dili na gid mo dako ang problem. Next is the identify the root cause. So we need to identify the root cause because when solving the root cause itself, it will solve the occurred problem, right? So kung let's say kanang when di ba kanang nagsakit yung muntiyan, or let's say you have a stomach ache, so that's the problem. Then what is the root problem of the stomach ache? You didn't eat breakfast or lunch. So what is the immediate what is the action we need to do? So every day, let's eat a proper meal in the proper time to prevent the stomach ache, right? So that is the root cause of the problem, not eating at the right time and the right proportion of the food. So the fourth process is develop a verify solution. So let's say mag-solve na mong kita og problem, why not mo improve pagita sa atong product when solving a problem, di ba? We already know the problem. Let's try to implement other things. What is lacking? On why did the problem occur? What is the cause? So let's say let's using um, the weakness and make it the strength in the future, right? So that's right. That's why we have to and we have to identify the problem and contain the problem, identify the root cause, and develop and verify the solution. Mangita sa tag solution nga atong magamit para ma-solve atong problem. At the same time, nasa tayo ma-improve sa atong product or sa atong na-solve nga problem. Next is the implement corrective action in order to prevent reoccurrence. So, in solving the problem, let's try our best nga ang atong igamiton nga problem solving nga process is dili na mabalik ang problem or any problem nga maabot when so let's do our very best in solving the problem, right? So kanang di ba naamo ginay mga kanang nahibilin nga effect sa problem. So ato na siyang wagtangon kanang mawagtang gid siya ba na effect when solving the problem kasi so implement the corrective action. So the very very effective solving process that are in the choices of our hands. This here they implement the permanent corrective action. So permanent from itself, permanent, so dapat dili na jud siya mabalik nga problem. So permanente na jud siya nga kanang action, so magbalik kanang updated na gid permi ang ato ang from problem solving para dili na gid mabalik gid ang problem.
So I'm going to talk about quality management enhancement through problem solving. First, quality problems. A quality issues is characterized as any occurrence where the specified quality characteristic isn't displayed or not up to the expecting level. In other words, it is an occasion of disappointment to comply with measures or details. It can be considered as quality gap. Under this are the attitude towards problem and the problem-solving cycle. The attitude towards problem. It is disappointing to encounter issues in spite of putting in a great plan and careful control. In any case, issue ought to be seen as a challenge to put out distance better, a much better, a higher, a stronger, and improve a stronger item or benefit. Issues ought to not be brushed off or disregarded by efforts ought to be made to know what issues exist and how genuine. Each issues ought to be subjective to encourage requests with respect to why they happened and what can be done to dodge them. The second under the quality problem is the problem-solving cycle. Identity problem, determine cause of problem, find alternative solution, select appropriate changes, carry out changes, re-examine problem. The first is to identify, clarify, verify the existence of the quality problem. Then, an approach must be found to solve this problem. The scientific solving process is based on scientific approach. Now we move on to another, the problem identification. Under this are statistical quality control. The way to recognize issues is by recognizing non-conformance through quality control. According to J.M. Huran, in Quality by Design, quality is controlled by the administrative handle through which we degrade the real performance, compare it with benchmark, and act on the difference. Within the final portion of this definition, Huran has joined quality enhancement as a portion of control, offload item. Unsuitable result can happen by chance. Knowing the recurrence of events is subsequently vital. Measurable quality control is the location of the rate of non-conformance in sizable amount of item created or conveyed. In clinical home, factual quality control takes shape of clinical or therapeutic audit. Next is customer complaint. Through rigid quality control, non-conformant things are rejected. In the event that in any case considerable number of clients are still troubled, there is a issue within the quality control or the quality plan. Customers' opinion with respect to quality ought to be effectively looked or through clients' fulfillment overseas or complaints boxes. Next is the employee complaints. Any complaint from employees about the process, quality or the equipment or the work environment should be considered as a problem. To encourage reporting, complaints can be distinguished as employees suggested or suggestion. Lastly is the incident reporting. Incidents occurring during production, delivery, and use of product should be identified as a problem and studied closely. The occurrence of incidents should be reported by employees and sought from customer complaints. Lastly, under the quality management enhancement through problem solving is the problem solving cycle. To be successful, the issues understanding get ready as got to be efficient and coherent in approach. The essential step is to recognize, clarify, and affirm the nearness of a quality issue. The causes must at the point to be found. In this way, methodologies must be found to unravel these issues. The approach is portrayed underneath as a cycle of works out. Frequently, not all the points of an issue can be amended at any one time. As well, present-day issues keep on being distinguished. In this way, quality's alter effort is ceaseless. It is reasonable perhaps to title it as the issue of solving cycle. The problem-solving workout must be drawn nearer from two particular viewpoints, which is theoretical and empirical. The setting inside which the issue happened have to be known. The possible causes are hypothesized from information of the output, forms, and environment. Information it is at that point collected to clarify what components are in the operation when the imperfect item was made or unsatisfactory benefits was conveyed. The remedial activity or cure includes a level of experimentation exterior of the operation space, as it were after the recommendation remedial activity is demonstrated to be successful. Therefore, even though the changes are meant to be gradual, the problem solving approach needs to be taken as a project. There is a need for proper planning, organization, scheduling, and control.
So hi. So my topic is the problem solving cycle. To be successful, the issue understanding get ready has got to be efficient and coherent in approach. The essential step is to recognize, clarify, and affirm the nearness of a quality issue. The causes must at that point be found. In this way, methodologies must be found to unravel these issues. So the approach is portrayed underneath as a cycle of works out. Frequently, not at all points of an issue can be amended at any one time. As well, present day issues keep on being distinguished. In this way, qualities alter effort is ceaseless. It is reasonable perhaps to title it as the issue solving cycle. So the cycle is to identify the problem, brainstorm ideas, weigh pros and cons, overcome obstacles and action steps. Then it reflects to the whole situation. So the problem solving develops mathematical power. It gives students the tools to apply their mathematical knowledge to solve hypothetical in hypothetical and real world problems. So problem solving is enjoyable and it allows us or we students to work at their own pace and make decisions about the way we are to explore the problem. For example, we the students taking things apart. So to determine an issue, find a solution, then put things back together again. So one of example, I mean engineering or soon to be an engineer knows how things work so that they constantly analyze things and discover how they work. So problem solving is a skill held by engineers, though it is a process that anyone can learn. So the problem solving cycle has have two particular points of view. So the first is the theoretical and the second one is the empirical. So let's identify the theoretical first. So theoretical is the existing only in theory. So the theoretical defines um, the key concept in research, proposes relations between them, and discuss relevant theories based on literature review. So, like mga kanang nagbase siya sa kanang mga research like mga nana. While the empirical is based on concerned with or verifiable by observation or experience rather than theory or pure logic. So one of example of this is the DNA findings testing. It is based upon analysis rather than on deduction or situation or relying or based solely on experiment and observation rather than theory. So, ang kalainan aning theoretical o ang empirical is ang theoretical is kanang nag-base siya sa kanang mga theory mingon na or sa mga literature review, while the empirical is nagbase siya sa true experience, like kanang diha jud nimo like for example kanang about sa accident mingon na diha nakakita man jud ka ana mismo, so diha nimo ma-prove na kanang nadyo na accident mo rag ngana ba something like based on experience gid nimo, based on nakita jud nimo, while ang theoretical is based on sa finding research lang. So but all in all, the problem solving cycle is dapat need jud siya kanang efficient o coherent, kay efficient siya sa pag-solve sa mga problema and coherent siya sa mga gipang-solve nimo nga mga problema, kay para kanang mag-successful ang imong research or something papers or paperworks. So mara to. Thank you.
So now let's focus on the quality improvement cycle. So as you can see, here are the steps of elaboration of activity or the project. We have step 1, assess quality of service. Collect information to measure current performance, the movement of quality control. So basically, in a production line, operators were under observation. It is to assess if they are really following what is written in the manual or in the working standard. Aside from that, operators cannot just operate in a certain process if he or she is not certified. There are times also that the ETS or the educational training system will conduct an audit to the production line to assess the mastery of the operators with their respective processes. Step 2, identify problem. A quality problem is said to occur if there is a quality gap or deficit based on the outcome results compared to the standard set. So again, in a production line, each line has the target output in a day. Assuming that line 1 did not achieve their target output or they have negative output in that day. So, it means there should have been a problem encountered during the operation. At this point, we are going to investigate what is the main cause or the reason why they did not achieve their target output. At this point, we will investigate with 4 specific areas. We have these areas are the 4 M's. So 4 M's stands for demand, machine, method, and the material. With these 4 areas, we could easily find out the main cause of the problem. Step 3, analyze problem. At this step, a theoretical examination of variables that will contribute to the event is performed. So, assuming that we've already find out the main cause of the problem, and it is due to the material defects. So how are we going to analyze since the problem is on the material side? So assuming we have material A, material B, and material C. So at this point, we are going to compare the condition when these materials are being used in the production line. So these types of materials may differ with their lot numbers and the suppliers. So since line 1 did not achieve their target output in this day, and the current material that they are using is the material C. Therefore, there should be a problem with material C. So, to start in analyzing the problem, we are going to conduct an experiment using these three types of materials for the comparison. And aside from conducting an experiment, we will be conducting also a measurement to measure the dimensions or the height in each material. So that would be the start of our investigation. We have step 4, postulate causes. Tools such as relations diagram and Ishikawa herringbone chart may be used to demonstrate and clarify cause and effect. So other statistical tools that would be beneficial in presenting the data could also be a line graph, bar graph, or even the box plot. Okay, these statistical tools is used for us to identify the trend of the measurement data, and so we could easily determine which point that each material differs. Okay? We have step 5, identify data required and how to obtain them. Hypothetical hypotheses put forward at the past step need to be demonstrated by a study or real happenings. So, in this step, we are going to identify what are our requirements for us to investigate more or to study more on the problem that had happened. So at this point, it depends on you. Some would require a measurement data from the machine, okay, from the machine, and to the manual measurements to for correlation purposes. So we are going to correlate if the result using machine versus the manual measurement is actually the same. And at this step, report making is very important also for to summarize the actual result comparing the machine versus the manual data measurements. We have step 6, plan data collection. At this stage, it is necessary to know whether data required already exists or new data need to be collected. So at this point, since we already know, we already know that the problem is on the material defect, and since that it is the very first time that this kind of problem happened, okay, so what are we going to do next is, since there is a larger quantity of no good that occurred at this time, okay, what we are going to do is to heads up the problem to the management so that they could also decide on what would be the disposition with this type of material. So as we are waiting for the result or the feedback of the management about this problem, first thing we're gonna do is to set aside the material that had been detected as no good during the running and labeled it as pending, and make sure not to mix it to the new material that we will be used in the line. So we will change material directly for us to minimize or to avoid longer stoppage in the production line. We have step 7, collect data. This step is actual activity of data gathering collation. So, collect data, at this point, we are going to, the data here may also refer to the number of the number of no good being detected in the production line. Or collect data, yes, through measurement, okay? Since we conducted measurements and experiments, then at this point, we will gather all the data that the necessary data, that should be used as our reference to make a report.
Step 8. Analyze data. Data that had been collected are tabulated, analyzed, and presented using some simple statistical tools. So, here, to analyze the data, we are going to use specific tools for us to determine the trend from the data that we've collected. These are the data from our measurements and experiments that had been conducted. Most common statistical tools na gigamit are the bar graphs and box plot and the line graph. Next is the step 9. Derive causes of the problems. The result of investigation and are translated to demonstrate or disprove hypotheses made already. Collective information made to uncover or recommend other conceivable causes. So here is step 9, derive causes. So after sa investigation and sa mga pag-collect sa data, we can identify the root cause of the occurrence of the no code or the abnormalities which causes the slow production in a certain line. So for you to understand further, let me show you an example of measurement data and its trend with the different statistical tools being used as comparison. So as you can see here, this is the example measurement data, and we will see its trend using the bar graph. And next is the box plot. Next is the line graph. And this will only serve as an example on how statistical tools look like. And any of these statistical tools can be used to identify the problem and the data except the normal spec used in the production line. When we say spec, it is the target data with its range that are used in the production line. Next is the step 10. Step 10. Plan corrective remedial measures. Techniques for enhancement need to be defined and arranged with care based on the cause identified over different variables. Hiring rectification are identified. Elective arrangement to the understanding the issue of the identified, and shortlisted through workers proposal writing, survey, and benchmarking within the long-term investigate and advancement may give superior arrangement. So here, after knowing sa problem, assuming that the problem is on a material defect, and after sa investigation makabauta nga ang cause sa no good kay high height measurement. Therefore, we are now going to propose something as a countermeasure to the problem. And the term proposal indicates we are going to suggest for a new spec for the height measurements. We'll make a proposal report to the management. And here next is the step 11, carry out remedial measures. The most effective strategy to use is the implementation of remedial measures is the use of the show chart PDC cycle as described below. So here, the PDC cycle to carrying out the remedial action. So in these steps, given that our suggestion solution is to have a new spec, in making the proposal, it will start with a planning a lower or increase the current spec range used in the production line. So after planning, we are now going to conduct an experiment for us to determine if our proposal spec will minimize the occurrence of the no good, and nasiya na bilong sa do. So after making the summary of your proposal report, it will now be presented to the management. So RACI if or to production managers, supervisor, and Japaneser for approval purposes. So check siya. So after the approval, we will conduct a meeting to assign personnel for a new spec that had been approved by the management. It is to avoid misunderstanding to the production side. As a result, these new changes in spec will used for the following running in the production line. Then here, step 12, reevaluate. Collect information to decide the frequency and reality of the issue. This step implies how the continuation of the quality control exercises the event that the issue has not been solved. The issue may require reanalysis or think about it. It may be too cruel that the medicinal measures chosen were not carried out and completely, or they were not effective. So after implementing the new spec, we will get the data using the normal spec, so old versus the new, para i-compare. It will be used as the basis if the proposed spec improves in minimizing the occurrence of the problem and to monitor if the result is consistent. So next step is step 13. Prevent the problem from recurring. So here, if remedial activities measures have been fruitful, all changes made have to be received as institutionalized. This as a rule implies that the changes are joined into the arrangement, that the work methods and work culture, persistent vigilance through quality control with guarantee that the issue don't repeat. So here, since the result of our proposal minimizes the occurrence of the problem detected in the line, it will now be the current spec that will be used in the production line. Daily monitoring is also useful in this case. So that's all for the topic quality improvement cycle. Thank you.
So good day everyone, I'm Mabel Arpitogo from BSIA 3A9. So I will tackle the quality management enhancement tools for problem solving, whether used individually or within a team. These tools guide the problem solving process by identifying root causes, offering methods to achieve consensus, and developing visual representation of problems and solutions. So the first tool is 8D Customer Complaint Resolution Report. Solve customer complaints through an 8-step investigation that lifts organizational center of the customer. So this tool keeps the key stakeholders, including management, customers, and they inform and update on the status of complaints. Second, A3 Problem Solving Report. Concisely portray and report an issue understanding, handle comparable to a storyboard. So this tool is lead approach to reporting issues and representing ways of addressing them. So also you can use it make a process change proposal, report on project status, or solve a problem. The next tool is Analytic Cause 3. Decide root causes of an issue and create remedial activities to cure it. So this tool is a mapping out main problems along with their causes and effects, supporting project planners to identify clear and manageable goals and the strategy of how to achieve them. So example kuan ani kay karang maong importante ni siya nga tool kay para dali ra nimo ma-illustrate ang mga main causes ani mga main problem niya, dali ra sa nimo mahibaw-an kung unsay nindot i-solution ani nga problem ana. The next tool is Clean Sheet Process Redesign. Engage a group to move absent from current state and empower to a total change of a work stream handle. So this tool is the method of rethinking existing business from the ground up, and also this is the way of to innovate processes by asking the right questions about current practices. And the next tool is Community Stakeholder Services Map. Create a visual representation of where administration are physically found in connection to each other. So, like, ang example ani kay partnership or mga local community. Mo represent sila og mga karang ipatukod baron nila or mga designs nga ikuan ilang buhaton dayon after mga pila ka months baron nanay makita nga mao na ilahang gibuhat na tuman ilahang gipang-ingon nga katong ilahang na agrihan sad nga design. And next, the consensus decision-making metrics. Separate an issue into essential and secondary components as a system of accomplishing agreement. So, kita tananan ni naadyo ni tagsa-tagsa samot na sa mga co-worker o sa mga workers. So, this tool or process in decision-making in which group of members develop and have agreement to support the best interests of the group. The next tool is diagnostic force field analysis. Excuse me. Extend a constrained field investigation to incorporate relative quality or drivers and restrainer. So this tool provides us perspective on force at work when trying to make changes in organization by the driving and restraining forces that will impact whether the goal or vision can be achieved. So, arisan makuha ni mo nga, parang, kung sa math pa ni siya, na, kuan, try and error, karang, mangita mo paagi ba nga, kaning away ka na, ana. Second is the mind mapping. Create a non-linear graphical graph to interface and organize data about issue. So, kita tanan ani kay hibaw na taon sa mind graph mapping no kay since high school na naman ni or maybe elementary man siguro pero mga kuan pa to chart mga nana. So, ang kani siya kay para dali ra nimo makita ang mga causes ug ang mga possible nga solutions sa mga kuan issues or problems nga The next tool is 9 windows. Visualize choices to current state by seeing a issue through 9 different focal points. So, kani nga tool kay nani mga technique nga para makatabang sa imuha to examine the innovation opportunity across the dimensions of the time. Next is the population health driver diagram. Recognize essential and secondary drivers of a community well-being issue as a beginning point for improvement of focus on advisement. So, kani nga tools kay to serve as a framework for determining and aligning actions that can take within a community for achieving the objective or object. So, next is the process value analysis. Empower a group to analyze each step in a handle to decide its esteem, creating a proportion of a work to cost. Ang example aning process value analysis kay karang namoy group meeting unya din mag-sharing mo sa mga ideas ninyo unya namoy agreement nga panalitan mao ni ang ako ang design ang napilian. So kay maoy karang ganahan sa tanan ug mao say ganahan sa karang manager or the owner. Then kay mag-focus lang sad mo ana ara na magsabot kung karang unsay mga possible outcomes ana niya mag-focus lang jud mo ana nga design. So next tool is Scamper technique. Create a list of ideas focused on client needs and ideal handle changes. So kani nga tool kay naay 7 ka book method which is substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. Sa katong nga mga kuana 7 methods kay pwede kay to nimo magamit to sa imuha mga problem solving mo nang mangitag pamaagi para ma-solve ba. The next tool is SIP OC plus CM plus CE collection form. It recognizes and examines the major components of our organizational center forms. Next is solvability and control metrics. Investigate and evaluate handle issues to decide which can be effortlessly solved and which should be brought to a quality enhancement group. So, kani nga tool kay nagrepresent siya as a guide process to explore o to assess process problems in order to what can be easily solved karang para murag mangita tag way nga mas dali siya ba, mas dali siya ma-solve, dali siya.
So in this portion, we will be tackle about on how to solve the quality problem. So when we say quality, quality is the totality of characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy given needs. So og sa ato lang kanang pagsabot individually, ang quality is ang kalig-unon jud sa product, di ba? Mao man jud na ang sagad sa jud nato nga kanang hunahunahon og quality na atong hisgutan ang kalig-unon jud sa isa ka product. So what if ang quality sa isa ka product kay naay problema? So mao ni siya ang amoang kanang hatagan og kanang sulbad or hatagan og kanang idea on how to kanang solve the quality problem. So first is identify the main problem. In this case, it would be useful in the event that they consider the moisture substance in their crude materials, since it would grant vital effects on the quality they have delivered. So, identify the main problems. O ang ato ang kanang product kay furniture. So ang furniture kuan man jud na, it's either metal or wood. Sa wood lang ta. O wood ang ato ang materials, ang atong furniture kay naay defect or naa siya kanang murag dili gani satisfactory nga kanang attitude, kay ato jung hunahunaon nga asa jud ang problema, sa pagbuhat ba sa furniture or sa wood nga atong gigamit sa pagbuhat sa furniture. Mao na kanang ato sad na siyang i-consider para kanang matagaan sad ta nga kita mo'y tag-iya, matagaan sad ta og knowledge og unsa pa ato ang mas better nga mabuhat ani nga furniture. So number 2 is dig into the details. In this sample problem was the moisture substance of the wood, and having fizzled to consider that numerous questions must be replied to induce the possible solutions of the issue. So dig into the details. So if nakuha na nato ang kanang main problem sa ato ang product, kay kanang atong i-consider ang mga possible questions or mga possible solutions, kay og naay mopalit sa atong products, kay mga tanam jud na nga unsa may ikagaranti ani nga product, unsa may kanang mabuhat ani, pila man ka siya katuig. So dapat ato jud na if magbuhat og product, kay ato jud i-consider ang mga possible questions nga ihatag kanang i-deliver sa ato sa mga client nga kunyari pila man ang life expansion ani nga furniture, o pila ka tawo ang mulingkod ani, di ba ni maguba dayon na ba kanang dapat ato una ta mag-release og product ato sa jud kanang kanang lig-unon ang ato ang kanang ipangsulti gani para og naay mo palit sa atong product aron sa ilahang kuan masatisfy sad sila og ganahan sa palit sa atong product. Dili man sad gud ta kakuan nga ay mamakak lang ta nga ngani kaligon na tong product, kay what if di ay gipalit na nila ron nya kanang niana ka nga 15 years na or 10 years na iyang life expansion niya. 1 week pa nilang nagamit, naguba na. So, di ba, adtoon dyan magbalik nga. Ana mo, ingani ang mga, ang kanang maghangtod siyag ingani ka years. Ingani man, dali raman siya naguba. So, kana another questions na sad na nila. So, dapat ato jud i-consider ang whole questions or whole possible questions nga ato ang mag-gain sa ato ang client. Is identify the root cause. It may will be said that the root cause is substance of the wood by the sourcing of the wood and the needs of the course around precisely what sort of wood was required is the real root cause. So, mao na to akong giingon nga kanang if kanang furniture ang ato ang product, so wood man atong material. So ato jung examinon sa dang wood ug kani nga wood pila sad ang iyahang kanang ma-guarantee nga year or life expansion sa paggamit sa iyahang sa kana nga wood o kani nga wood nyari mahugani kaning mahugani kay bota ingani ni siya mas nindot ba ni siya nimog furniture kay dugay ba ni siyang maguba or dugay ba ni siyang maanay or kanang mga possible nga mga kanang ability ana nga wood ba nyari kaning mahugani lang atong gamiton kay para nindot siya taas life expansion o gamiton o himuon ni siya nato nga product. So ingana ang mga kanang pag kanang ingana dapat ang atong mindset if magbuhat na tag product mas nindot jud og sa quality jud ta kanang mag-base.
So good day. This is GMA Isumera, and I will be reporting about the corrective action plan time. So since the problem is already identified, the next step to do is to implement the corrective action plan to make sure it does not happen in the future. So when we say corrective action plan, it is a document describing how exactly a specific situation will be changed to better meet the goals of the company. The structured plan typically lasts 30 to 90 days, but could be longer depending on the circumstances. It should be monitored often every 2 years. The corrective action plan is most needed when problems arise that pose a real threat to an organization, quality management system, or health safety management. A corrective action plan is like a scientific method that first asks the question like who caused the problem, what caused the problem, who will complete it and when, and lastly, where the action will take place. Next is you should determine the research issue, construct a hypothesis, test with an experiment, then analyze data and draw conclusions, and lastly, report your results. So next is do, check, action, and standardize. The do is the first step to measure the quality of your product. You should develop and implement a solution, decide upon a measurement to gauge its effectiveness, test the potential solutions, and measure the results. Next is check. After finding the measures on the issue, it was found that the material source were unseemly planning utilized of the item. You should confirm the results through before and after data comparison. Study the result, measure effectiveness, and decide whether the hypothesis is supported or not. Next is the action. This step where examination happened to urge right root caused by the issue and to ensure the suitable activity to require.
You should document the results, inform others about the process changes, and make recommendations. So lastly is the standardize. Since the correct activity taken, you'll be able to standardize the sourcing prepare for all your wood and the crude materials of other items you make. So next is work smarter, not harder. So in this case, it can see how it might appear like a part of additional work and exceptionally net picking as well. It does get simpler, but you begin to generation run is bound to hand you a few. So according to Alan F. Morgenstern, as an industrial engineer, he created a work simplification program to increase productivity using less effort. So learning to work smarter, not harder, can improve your productivity and performance while increasing your overall job satisfaction. It can also make you a valuable asset to an organization for which you work and increasing your job security. So working smarter saves a precious time and energy for the things that really matter. Your life goals, your personal growth, your health, and your relationships. That's all. Thank you.
Step for problem solving. In understanding and communicating the problem effectively, we have to be clear about what the issue is. Remember to focus on the behavior instead of attacking the person. 2. Gather information. What were the circumstances? What are the nonverbal message being sent? Who does it affect? What behavior is typical for the child age? Are your expectations reasonable? 3. Generate possible solution. Work together to brainstorm on all positive solutions. Do not judge ideas are good or bad at this point. 4. Evaluate ideas and then choose one. Decide which option you like and which you don't like. 5. Evaluate, did it work? If yes, great, consider how your solution may be applicable to other different problems. How the problem can be prevented from happening